The rain was falling hard the morning Daniel Carter lost everything, soaking through his thin jacket as he stood outside the glass building that had once felt like safety. Inside, warmth, lights, and polished marble floors promised comfort to people who never worried about tomorrow. Outside, Daniel felt the weight of every unpaid bill, every sleepless night, and every promise he had made to his daughter pressing down on his chest at once. The termination letter trembled in his hand, not because of the cold, but because he had no idea how he was going to walk home and look his child in the eyes. In that moment, a single decision made by a wealthy man upstairs had quietly shattered a father's fragile world. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of compassion to change lives, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them most. Daniel Carter was not a man who dreamed big. Life had taught him early to dream carefully. After his wife passed away from a sudden illness 6 years earlier, his world narrowed to one purpose: keeping his daughter Lily safe and smiling. Lily was 8 years old and lived with cerebral palsy, which made walking difficult and everyday tasks a challenge. Yet her eyes carried a brightness that refused to dim, and her laughter often filled their small apartment, like sunlight breaking through clouds. Daniel worked as a maintenance supervisor at Blackwell Enterprises, a powerful real estate company in downtown Chicago. It was not glamorous work, but it was honest, and more importantly, it provided health insurance that kept Lily in therapy and medication. The man who owned Blackwell Enterprises, Richard Blackwell, was everything Daniel was not. Richard lived in a penthouse overlooking the city, drove cars that cost more than Daniel would earn in a decade, and believed discipline and efficiency were the only virtues that mattered in business. His life had been shaped by boardrooms, profits, and a relentless belief that weakness had no place in success. When he walked through his buildings, people straightened their backs and lowered their voices. To him, employees were numbers, expenses, and outputs, rarely stories. The problem began with time. Lily's condition sometimes required sudden hospital visits or emergency therapy sessions. Daniel never abused his position, never skipped work without notice, but there were days he had to leave early or arrive late. Each absence was logged, each request quietly stacked against him. When a new efficiency audit swept through Blackwell Enterprises, Richard saw only charts and reports, not the man who worked late nights to compensate or the child whose life depended on that job. To Richard, Daniel's record showed inconsistency. In a company that prided itself on perfection, inconsistency was unforgivable. The firing was swift and cold. No raised voices, no explanations beyond corporate language about reliability and performance. Daniel walked out with a box of personal items and a storm raging inside his chest. The ride home felt endless. Every stoplight gave him more time to imagine the future unraveling. Rent was due. Therapy appointments were scheduled. Lily's smile depended on stability, and stability had just been taken away. At home, Daniel forced calm into his voice as he helped Lily with her exercises and prepared dinner from what little remained in the fridge. He tried to hide the truth, but children, especially those who have known hardship, sense cracks adults cannot see. Lily noticed the way his hands shook, the way his eyes lingered on the bills spread across the table long after she had gone to bed. That night, while the city hummed outside their window, Daniel sat alone, calculating impossible numbers and praying for a miracle he no longer believed in. Days passed, and rejection emails filled his inbox. Maintenance jobs were scarce, and few offered benefits. Daniel sold what little he could, skipped meals, and walked everywhere to save bus fare. Lily's therapy sessions became fewer, and her progress slowed. Each time she struggled, Daniel felt as though he was failing her all over again. He never complained, never blamed anyone out loud, but the silence of his suffering grew heavier with each passing day. One afternoon, Lily overheard a phone call she was not meant to hear. Daniel was speaking softly, his voice cracking, as he tried to negotiate delayed rent. When the call ended, Lily wheeled herself closer, her small hands gripping the armrest with effort. She did not fully understand money or jobs, but she understood fear. She understood that her father was hurting because of her. That thought settled deep in her heart, and for the first time, she felt a responsibility far bigger than her years. The next morning, Lily asked Daniel where he used to work. He tried to brush off the question, but her eyes were serious. While Daniel stepped into the bathroom, Lily made a decision that would change everything. With determination that surprised even herself, she asked a neighbor for help and convinced them to take her downtown. Her legs trembled, her body ached, but her resolve was stronger than her fear. At Blackwell Enterprises, security hesitated when they saw her, small and struggling in her wheelchair. But something about her presence disarmed them. She was escorted upstairs, past offices filled with people who had never known hunger or uncertainty. When Richard Blackwell was told that a child insisted on seeing him, he was irritated at first. His schedule was packed, his patience thin. Still, curiosity won, and he agreed. When Lily was wheeled into his office, the room seemed to change. The towering windows and expensive furniture suddenly felt too large, too cold. Lily looked small against it all, but her eyes were steady. She spoke with effort, explaining who she was and who her father was. She explained how hard he worked, how he carried her when she was tired, how he never gave up even when his own body ached. She explained that he lost his job because of her and that she did not want him to be sad anymore. Richard had faced lawsuits, hostile takeovers, and ruthless competitors, but nothing prepared him for the weight of that moment. For the first time in years, he was not looking at numbers. He was looking at consequences. Lily's struggle mirrored something he had buried deep inside himself. Memories of a brother he once had who lived with a disability and was pushed aside by a world that valued strength over compassion. Those memories cracked something open in him that money had long sealed shut. Lily asked him, with all the courage her small heart could muster, to give her father another chance. Not because he was perfect, but because he was kind. Not because he was efficient, but because he loved. When she finished, the room was silent except for the distant noise of the city below. Richard dismissed the meeting abruptly, not out of anger, but because he needed to be alone. He sat there long after Lily was taken home, staring at the skyline that had once made him feel powerful. For the first time, it felt empty. That night he went home and could not sleep. He thought about success, about legacy, about what it meant to matter. By morning, a decision had been made. Daniel was called back to Blackwell Enterprises later that week. Expecting another rejection, he almost did not go. When he arrived, he was offered his job back, this time with flexible hours, additional support, and a commitment from the company to create inclusive policies for caregivers. Richard did not make a speech or seek praise. He simply acknowledged that a mistake had been made and that it was time to do better. The change did not stop there. Blackwell Enterprises began funding accessibility projects, employee assistance programs, and community outreach initiatives inspired by Lily's courage. Richard found himself visiting hospitals, meeting families, and slowly redefining what success meant to him. Daniel returned to work with gratitude and a renewed sense of dignity. Lily resumed her therapy, her progress improving as hope returned to their home. Life did not become perfect. There were still hard days, still challenges, still moments of fear, but there was also security, understanding, and the knowledge that one act of bravery could ripple outward in ways no one could have predicted. Daniel no longer felt invisible. Lily no longer felt like a burden. Richard no longer felt untouchable. As this story comes close to its end, take a moment to reflect. If this journey moved you, if it reminded you of the power one voice can have, please like, share, and engage with this video. Your interaction helps keep stories of humanity alive. And before the final moment, we have a special request for you. Please comment below with the words "Kindness Matters" if you believe compassion can change the world. Your comment might inspire someone who feels unseen today. In the end, it was not wealth that saved a family or power that restored hope. It was a child's courage, a father's love, and a man's willingness to listen. Sometimes the strongest voices come from the smallest hearts, and sometimes the greatest success is simply choosing to be human,